Alright gamers, in this episode we're going to create a character for Numenera to tack on with our game review. Alright gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I am Brian, your Game Master, and in this episode we're going to create a character for Numenera to go along with the game review that we put out as well. We're going to create a Glaive. I just picked the first one of the book of the three, so the Glaive Jack Nano. We're just going to do a Glaive. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you can be the first to see all my new content. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright gamers, so here we are with our fillable PDF for the Numenera character sheet. I will put links in the description below, one to the blank fillable PDF and another one for the completed PDF that we've got right here. So with that, let's go ahead and start taking a look here. So you'll notice, let me go back to the top here. So this is like your first section of your character sheet. Not a whole lot of business going on right here. The most important part is this right over here. Okay. So basically this game uses to describe your character one sentence. It's going to be your character's name. So I decided to name this character Jolena. She's going to be a female. She is a Swift, my descriptor. Glaive, my type or class, who wields two weapons at once, which is my focus. This is going to tell you everything about your character in as few words as possible. Each of these, the descriptor, type, and focus are going to define your character. So we're going to get into that here in a second. Don't worry about this notes section right here. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Also, you have a background section right here that you can fill in. So once you get your character created and talk to your game master, then you can start developing a background if you want, if that's really your thing. And then this right here is like for illustration for your character. Not really a whole lot you can do with the PDF. If you see, nothing you can do. So let's get on to the second page. So the second page, this is where all the business is, and it looks kind of like, whoa, what's all going on right here because of all this extra art. I don't know how I feel about this. All this extra art. I mean, it's cool, like it's flavorful and it's unique, but I think initially when I first looked at it, there was a lot of business going on right there, and I was like, okay, hold on a second, let me focus in here. Maybe when they come out with the new edition, they'll keep the same stuff, but maybe make it a little less complex looking. You know, there's too much. I think there's just too much going on. But that aside, that's just my personal opinion on that. So first we're going to start right here with our pools. So the game uses three different stats, so might, speed, and intellect. And you have a pool of points that you spend and recover to do different actions. So a glaive, which is my type, which is like the warrior, the fighter class that uses weapons and is trained in armor and things like that, starts with a base pool in might of 11, a base pool of speed of 10, and a base intellect pool of 7. And then you get 6 points to spend to customize these pools based on your character concept. So what I did, I put 2 of those 6 points in might for a 13. Then I put 3 points in speed to make it even as a 13 as well. And then I put my last point in intellect at 8. Obviously not as intellectual as she is fast. Obviously you can see by this 17. We're going to talk about why that's like that here in a few. But I've designed this character to use light weapons, no armor, relies more on dodging and agility to evade damage than to just tank hits with heavy armor, which is something you can totally do. Or I could have gone with medium armor and a big two-hand weapon and put more points in might, or however I wanted to do. So I really like the system, how it allows you to a lot of customization with your pools, which really kind of define what your character is going to be doing and how effective it is at different tasks. Okay, and then we'll look up here. So we're at tier 1. So every character you start with starts at tier 1. There's 6 tiers that you go through as you progress through the game. Now the game doesn't use the main focus isn't to grind XP, to gain tiers, to get more powerful. The game kind of starts you out as like already kind of a defined character person out there in the world. You're out, trying to discover all this technology, the Numenera, right? And as you go through that, you're going to evolve as a character throughout that based on the experiences and things you have. And that's how the tier system is kind of reflected on you. Effort is 1, so you start with 1 point in effort. What effort means is when you want to perform a task, so say I want to strike an enemy with my weapon, okay? I can apply effort to that. So the GM decides there's going to be a difficulty, whatever difficulty number that is. I can apply 1 level of effort by spending 3 points from the relative pool. So to strike with the weapon would be might. I could spend 3 points from my might pool and decrease that difficulty by 1 step. So from like a 4 to a 3. Okay? Then you'll see here I have edge of 1 in might, edge of 1 in speed, edge of 0 in intellect. What edge means is that, so when I spend the 3 points to apply my effort, however much my edge is, I reduce that cost by 1. So normally it's 3 points, but I have a might edge of 1, so technically it only costs me 2 points to apply the 1 level of effort. And once you get to edge level of 3, you can always apply 1 free level of effort, which is kind of cool. And you can apply multiple levels of effort because as you progress in the tiers, your effort, the amount of levels that you can apply, will increase. Obviously, I have 0 XP because I'm a first level character. So then as you're going through the Glaive, if you got your book, follow along. It's going to give you some abilities you're going to have and some choices you're going to make. 2 of the main abilities you're going to get are right here. So your practice in armor. You can wear all kinds of armor, so light and medium. And then your practice with all weapons. So you can use any weapon, light, medium, heavy. Okay. And then you get to choose 2 of the fighting moves, is what they're called for the Jack class or type, to be more specific for this game. So I chose thrust. So if my weapon has a point on the end of it, so if it's not like a blunt weapon, if it's like a sharp weapon that has a point, I can spend 1 point out of my might pool and I can do additional damage with the attack. Okay. Then I took train without armor. So instead of wearing armor, my character is going to be more dexterous and agile. So that's, you go up here. I took swift. Swift descriptor also gives me plus 4 points in my speed pool. So it took me from a 13 to a 17. So I have a lot of speed and then train without armor also gives me, if you look up here at skills, because I have a few skills here, speed defense. So say I have to make a speed defense roll. Since I'm trained, it reduces that difficulty by 1 step. Okay? And which makes it easier. Then if I want to apply my effort on top, that's another. So I can more easily use my speed defense to evade damage or evade harm or whatever the context of the roll would be for. And then also, if you look up this case, I took wields 2 weapons at once. So I have dual light wielding. So that means I can dual wield 2 light weapons. Think light weapons, daggers or anything light. Nothing that would require 2 hands to use, or a medium weapon, maybe like a long sword or something like that. And then I get additional bonuses. So I can make 2 separate attacks, 1 with each weapon. Light weapons only do 2 damage base. And since I'm doing 2 attacks, so I have to make my rolls, for each attack. And the opponent gets to add their armor or subtract their armor from my damage both times. And then, So and then there's a choice of skills that the Glaive gets. So like running, jumping, climbing, all that kind of stuff. So I took climbing, as because you get one skill out of it. So I took climbing. So, you know, because I'm assuming there's going to be rocks and stuff, cliffs you're going to have to climb. If you wanted to explore those deep areas of the world, climbing is going to be good. Also, my Swift, okay, my Swift descriptor gave me training in initiative and running rolls. So if I have to make a running speed roll, I'm training. So you know, if you're trained, it reduces the difficulty step by 1. Okay, and then you're starting equipment. So you start with clothing, and you can start with armor, but I chose not to take the armor. There's a rule, like if you don't take the armor or whatever you would take, you could get the money back, which is, the game uses something called shins or sheens, or it looks like shins to me. That's why I say shins. And the glaive starts with 5 shins. All right. So I just took the clothing. So she's gonna wear her clothing. You get an explorer's pack, which is like if you've played other games with something like that, it's gonna have rope and rations and other stuff like that for traveling. And then you also get to have 2 weapons of your choice, light, medium, whatever. Well, so I took 1 forearm blade, and it's exactly like it sounds. It's a bracer with a blade that comes out over the top of the hand. So I took 1 of those and a crank crossbow. And a crank crossbow is a medium weapon. It uses a 5-bolt clip in the top, and you can use it rapid fire. You can just, you crank it and it just shoots bolts, which I thought would be kind of cool. And then also my wields 2 weapons at once. I get a free extra light weapon, and a forearm blade is a light weapon, so I took a second one. So now I have 2 forearm bracers, or forearm blades, that I can use with my dual light wielding. And I got the crossbow, and you get 12 ammunition for whatever you choose. If it's a bow, crossbow, whatever, you get 12 rounds of ammunition with it. And then I track my money right here. Okay. Glaives also start with 2 ciphers. I have a limit of 2 is how many I can carry with no penalty. If I attempt to carry more than that, there's rules in the game that you have to roll for to see if there's some kind of volatility. Because these things are supposed to be, like if they all come together, it's like you don't mix certain chemicals together, we get a bad reaction. There's some ciphers or technology you're not going to want to mix together because it could cause an explosion or a fire. So, and then it's supposed to be selected by the GM. So I just went to the section, there's this big table, rolled a D100. So I got a shock nodule. Now ciphers are all one-use items. So I use the shock nodule once, I get its benefit for its length, and then it's done. So a shock nodule is, I put it on one of my weapons, and I activate it for 24 hours, I think it is. When I hit with the weapon, it causes 1 extra point of electrical damage. So it makes one of my weapon a shock weapon. And then I rolled a 100% on the second roll, which is an X-ray viewer, which is kind of cool. Basically, it's like a little panel, like a little screen, and what you do, you hold it up to a wall or a door or something, and depending upon its thickness, you can see, as you move it around, you can like X-ray vision through that material to see what's on the other side. I was like, all right, cool. Obviously, I didn't pick it. I just rolled it, and that's what I got. Excuse me. Then you look down here, this is where you write your attacks. So if you were like a nano, you would have your esoteries, like your abilities, your magic abilities or whatever. You'd write that in here. But I don't have any of that stuff. I have my forearm blade. Now you'll see here, so the damage is 2 because it's a light weapon. And then because of my descriptor and my focus and everything, I do get a -1 modifier to the difficulty to use this weapon. So you're like, modifier -1, that sounds bad, but I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to write it, but I put -1. Any modifier to the difficulties is supposed to go in here. So -1 is actually easier for me to use this weapon because it's a light weapon. Light weapons are faster and easier to use, so you get the -1. And with all the other benefits from my other choices, I'm pretty good at using these weapons. Sure, the damage isn't great, but I can attack multiple times, and they're easier for me to use. And then my crank crossbow is a medium weapon, so there's no modifier base, and it does 4 damage. Okay, simple enough. And then also, in the choice of, I think it's the wields 2 weapons. Yeah, wields 2 weapons at once. I choose another player and their character, another PC, another player character in the party, and if I fight back to back, I'm like this, blades out, that character is behind me with their back touching mine, I get +1 to my speed defense while back to back with the chosen PC, which is kind of cool. And then your other what is it? I think it's the Swift. I can't remember if it's the descriptor or the focus gives me this one. I think it's the focus, and then the Swift here. This gives you another connection. So each one of these things is going to have a different connection of list of how you kind of join the group. And with this one, I was looking at in the list, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. So basically, I saw that the other PCs were in danger. So against my better judgment, I joined the group to help keep them safe, which kind of helps to develop that party cohesion. Because a lot of games don't do that. They just kind of be like, okay, you make your characters and you're all in the tavern together and you all decide to go on an adventure. I mean, that's great and all, but where's that connection? This kind of helps you set up how all the party members kind of come together. Because as everyone else is creating their characters, they're making choices as well. Okay, this character I trust because of this, and I joined the party because of this. So then everybody's got kind of a reason to be there instead of just like, oh, well, we're all here for the money or whatever, So really, honestly, that's it. Like what I just said, when I first looked at this, I was like, whoa, what is all this business going on here? But once I got into making the character, it's pretty fluid when you go through the chapter 2. Talks about the character and some of the stuff like effort and edge, and then it goes into type. So Glaive, Jack, Nano. Then it goes into all the descriptors, all the focus, and you pick, and you're done. Okay. Well, then you'll see right here. So these are your recovery rolls. So when you take, or when the GM calls for you to make a recovery roll, you're going to roll a d6 plus whatever this number is. And you always add what tier you are base. So I'm tier 1, so I add +1. Later on, there will be, as you spend experience and go to other tiers, other bonuses you'll receive will just give you flat additional bonuses to this. Like there's one that's like, oh, +2 to recovery rolls, or you're tier 3 in this. Okay, now you get an extra +3 to your recovery rolls or whatever, just depending upon your choices. And then damage. So they have the four damage sections, but they only put 2 on the character sheet. So they call it Hale, Hale, which is like fully healed. So once you go from that and the GM says you're impaired, you just click the box. It says you're impaired. Okay, then when they say you're debilitated, you click the box. And then you go from debilitated to incapacitated, okay? And then when you heal, you just unclick the boxes, okay? And then when you're doing your recovery, like how long of a recovery? You're going to take a 1-action recovery, 10-minute recovery. Obviously, the different time frames give you, they have different rules for each one of those. Or like 1 hour, or I'm going to take a 10-hour rest or whatever. I think this is so you track for the day. So say earlier in the day I took a 1-action recovery. Later on in the day we break for lunch or whatever. We take an hour. Then after that we take a 10-minute, and then it's nighttime. We're done. We hunker down in a clearing or a cave or whatever. Now we take our 10-hour. Okay. Then you just click, and then start of the next day you unclick it, and you are good to go. And really, okay, that's it. All right, gamers. So that was it. Making a character in Numenera. Pretty easy. Honestly, I went into that, looking at that character sheet, and I was like, wow, okay, I got a lot to do. But the game does a really good job of taking you step by step by step, making your choices, track this, next choice, track all this instead of having to go to page to page to page. Plus, the book has, when you so say it's talking about light weapons, there will be a little thing in the margin, light weapons page, You can just turn right there. Okay, cool. Turn right back. Go on. Okay, you're referencing something. Oh, it references this word that's in a different color. Look in the margin. Oh, that page. Okay, boom. Educate yourself. Come back. I think it's really well designed and really well put together like that. So I hope you liked that video. Like I said, if you did, hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you do enjoy the content, and that bell icon so you can be the first to see all my new videos when they come out. And until I see you again in the dungeon, I'm Brian, your Game Master, and happy gaming.